Today I'm here to present the case of my client, Miss Pike. She is a 20-year-old language student in the second year of studying French and German at the Porting University. She has pleaded guilty for an offense of vulgarity. She has known Mr. and Mrs. Philip for about 11 months now, as she answered a newspaper advertisement to rent out their room. She used the kitchen and the bathroom at the pre-arranged times, and although they were happy for them to join my client Miss Pike, she preferred to. They always used to invite Miss Pike over to the house, but she preferred staying at her room most of the time. On 30th July 2022 at about 7 p.m., she went to 20-foot Foster Gardens, the home of Richard and Eleni Phillips, where she had been renting a room. An argument had taken place over a relationship with her boyfriend Mr. Webb, whom the Phillips had banned from the house. They felt that Paul was too old for my client Miss Pike. As he was 38, she felt she had no option other than to move out. As she was afraid of losing Paul, she knew he would not agree with the arrangement, so she moved out the very evening. And now she realizes that it would have been better if she had requested their permission to return to the house. But at the time, I just went along with them with that, Mr. Webb said. Paul was very hungry that the Phillips would not accept their relationship with my client, Miss Pike. Had, she had a bit to drink that evening, and her lines were blurred for her. On the evening of the offences, she was packing and discussing with Mr. Webb how she would like to come back sometime when they're in and tell them what she thought of them and their petty rules. Mr. Paul said that he would leave a special message for them. As she asked what was the special type of message, he passed me a bottle of spray and passed me an evil smile too. With that, I knew what we were going to do. She knew what they were going to do, as she clearly states in her evidence, the proof Miss Pike has given to the courtroom. Anyway, the truth is, Mr. Webb sprayed into the wall. After the spray painting, spray painting the wall, Mr. Webb said that he was desperate of a slash, and she told him that you know where the washroom is, but still, he started laughing on the way, and Paul turned his face over to the wall and started pissing over there. But still, on the way out, Paul demanded a lipstick from my client, Miss Molly Pike, to write a message on the mirror. She admitted that she was a bit carried away. She was at the time, but it was done. She had no choice at the time, but it was done. Still, my client is not involved in it. She was just assisting in it, in the old vulgarity. She was there for her clothes, the things, the everything that she left at Mr. and Mrs. Phillips' house. The day when they came over to the house was already locked, and Mr. and Mrs. Phillips weren't there. But still, she wanted to go back and come after some time when they both are here. But Mr. Webb advised them to stay, and he, as a way to open the lock, he just told he go get back and grab the Jeremy from the back of his trunk of the car. He returned with the Jeremy and pushed the door with the Jeremy, and the lock was broken. My client completely just ignored all the things and went upstairs to her room and did nothing other than just going and packing her stuff. On her way back, all the things happened that she stated in her evidence record. But after that, the all things were done, and they get out of the house of Mr. and Mrs. Flip. They went to KFC afterwards, and Mr. Webb gave my client the necklace and said that she deserved it for all the trifle that Phillips had put through her. My client took the necklace to the work and put it in her locker, although she didn't knew what she was doing wrong. Still, she was still hurt that Mr. and Mrs. Phillip had made her position so impossible that she had to leave. Although she was little afraid, she said she should say that I'm a little afraid of Paul. He has hit my client Miss Webb more than once occasions. The following morning, while my client was at work, the police went to her to speak, and she fully cooperated with them. And the necklace was discovered from her locker, which she completely did from her own sense of mind. She was feeling guilty about it, and she gave back the necklace as soon as her lines were back for her. As we completely know from the evidence that she had her lines blurred, so she gave back the necklace she took. But she did not tell the police Mr. Webb's house number because she was afraid that Paul would just come onto her and abuse her again and again. That's why she didn't told. But from the day of my client's arrest, Mr. Paul hasn't visited him yet, and she also gave the address of Mr. Paul to the court, to the honorable court. Now she is most concerned that the press will publish details of identity and case with the local papers, and a college will expel her. She had fought hard for this place, and this will ruin her life. She feels bitter about the way which Paul has treated her, and she is aware that Paul has been involved in a lot of criminal activity, and she was not prepared to protect him anymore. She understands that the court may want my client to pay compensation to the Phillips for the cost of redecoration of the room, wall, and the cost of replacing the lock. I'm happy, and my client is happy to do so. She earns $190 euros per week, pounds per week, and have loans amounting of 8,000 pounds, and no other outgoings. Our food, travel bill, etc. costs £70 per month per week, and she has a saving of $5,000, which she managed to save from the loans she took out but haven't spent. She dipped into her saving to subsidize her wages, also her wages. Now, sir, I seek the sentence for my. It was she pleaded guilty.
So, what is the maximum sentence of the offense of the burglary?
Sir, it's 14 years.
14 years.
Yes, sir.
And what sentence do you seek for your client, Ms. Pike?
Sir, I seek discharge for my client.
And why do you seek discharge for your
Sir,
client?
I seek as per the sentencing council.
Yeah.
When your client is not involved in such a thing and only assisting here, assisting is not such thing that should be considered seriousness, because as we see in the sentencing council, all the cases here are given the sentence on the seriousness of the case. Now the seriousness of the case, I tell you here, is the realization. My client realized as soon as possible. As soon as her lines were clear for her, she told everything to the police. And she, in also the sentencing council, the sooner than later, about the realization, there's a phrase given. And my client realized it as soon as she could. Also, there are few types of sentences that could be given to my client. That's prison, which is very serious in cases which you have been doing something that's completely out of the lines. Uh, Second comes the community work and the compensation, which both also my client doesn't lay in, because she didn't do anything which caused harm to my to the Regina side client, Mr. and Mrs. Phillips. No harm was caused at all from my client. And also my client isn't blameworthy. She doesn't have any previous convictions. She has her personal circumstances, and it was a spur of a moment. And also, she is pleaded guilty, and she is also a kid of a foster home, and she's a bit of a sensitive. And in this case, we also have to show her some sympathy over being a foster child, because she has gone through a lot in her previous times, and she has to heal out from it and get involved with other people she can trust on, and they might be good for her. I rest my case.
Thank you.